Hello everybody, my name is Ismut Inunu and today I will be giving you guys a guide on a 101 guide how to guide your country.
Do I do this? No, I don't want to.
Say daddy's home for me.
Step 1, Part 1, Staying out of the conflict. One of İsmet İnönü's main strategies for Turkey was to remain neutral and to stay out of the conflict. He did this for one of two main reasons. Number one, Turkey was on good terms and had formed alliances with both opposing sides of the conflict, thus making it difficult for them to partake if they ever had decided to get involved, as they would have been forced to pick a side. In 1941, in the very beginning of the war, Turkey had signed a treaty of friendship with Germany, and a few years later, nearing the end of the war, in 1945, had signed a mutual assistance pact with the Allied powers, the US and the UK. During this time, nearing the end of the war, İsmet İnönü was very worried. He was sure that Turkey was going to get invaded by the Soviet Union, which is why he had decided to sign this mutual assistance pact. So after having signed this mutual assistance pact, guaranteed that the Allies would support and help Turkey if anything were to happen, they had finally declared war. Reason 2. Another main reason which influenced the decisions that İnönü made was because he was unsure of who was going to win, whether it was the Allies or the Axis powers. So thus, he avoided making the decision of having to stick with one side. The best option for them was to stay and remain neutral and stay on good terms with all sides. İsmet İnönü did this to reduce the consequences the country may have faced. And the only reason why Turkey had declared war in the very end was because they were pressured to join from the fear of getting sidelined by the international community after the war. In my opinion, I believe that what İsmet İnönü did was very smart, as he was not only thinking for himself, he was also thinking for his country, and he was also being smart in terms of if you look at it from an economical aspect, because if Turkey were to get involved in the war, they would have suffered and from a lot of destruction and damages, which would have probably caused them to go in depth after the war, trying to repair the damages. Doing what Turkey did and doing what İsmet İnönü did just made it easier for them after the war as well, because Turkey, as I mentioned, stayed on good terms with both sides, meaning that they had not created any enemies and no threats for them.
The main goal of Turkey during the war was to maintain neutrality and national security. The main concerns were potential invasions from the Axis and Soviet forces, as considering their current status, being involved into a war does not look bright in any way. A few reasons is that 1. Turkey is still recovering from the previous War of Independence. 2. Turkey during that period are still unprepared for any direct conflicts. And 3. During this time needed to minimize their national risk most. So, Turkey during the year 1941 signed the German-Turkish Treaty of Friendship. This not only ensures that Germany will not be invading them, hence, the treaties formalized Turkey's stance of neutrality. So, in conclusion to this whole thing, Turkey's perspective in World War II was characterized as a commitment to their neutrality and its priority of national recovery from their previous War of Independence. And the outcomes of the strategy clearly was that Turkey was able to maintain their sovereignty and territorial integrity throughout this war. As mentioned before, Turkey during this period approached a strategy of balancing their international relationships, or being neutral. What they did to ensure this stance of neutrality was maintaining their good relations with both Axis and Allied powers, specifically Germany, Britain, and the United States. Signing treaties with the Allied powers while negotiating with Germany, they took on a pragmatic approach. Additionally, they also established an alliance with Arab countries as their relations with Germany prevented them from invading the Middle East. This was mainly Turkey's diplomatic maneuvering during the World War, which is being engaged with trades, economic trades, and alliances, and trying to stay neutral and out of conflict. The outcomes from this neutrality and balancing of international relationships not only avoided direct conflict, but also preserved their national resources and received economic gain from maintaining their relationships. Specifically shown as Turkey during World War II profited by selling valuable resources to both Axis and Allied powers, economically benefiting from the war. One of the limitations of this strategy, however, during this period was its high economic dependence on the Axis powers and a potential threat as internal political tensions of Turkey, their different fractions, have opposing opinions on whether to contribute or stay neutral.
Turkey, during this time period, had continued to do trade and export vital resources to both the Axis and Allied powers, such as exporting chromium to Germany while seeking economic assistance from the Allies. In doing so, this helped boost Turkey's economy and also military preparedness because, like I mentioned, during the time period, Turkey had decided to strengthen its alliances and also continue doing business with both the Axis and Allied powers, providing them with resources that both sides were desperately in need of. And by doing so, this also provided and proposed itself as a benefits for Turkey, as Turkey had gained money from this, which they had used that money then to put into strengthening their military bases, military weapons, etc. I think the choices that Turkey had made were both very logical and economical because not only did they continue to do trade, but they were also, by doing trade and helping out the Axis and Allied powers, were also maintaining and building up on their economic stability.
Turkey's declare on the war on Germany. The main benefits of this is that it ensures Turkey a secure and stable position in a newly established UN. United Nations. Because of the influence of Allied powers, after seeing how they were holding up the upper hand, Turkey found the importance to side with the victors. Although their declaration of war didn't really contribute much. However, this does show their commitment to the Allied powers, which shifted their initial approach of neutrality. As I just talked about the benefit, the cons of this choice mainly was this declaration of war actually arises to tension within the internal political group of Turkey, again. The ones in particular who favored the neutrality and favored ties with Germany. The other cons that it also risks was its economic repercussion, as their trades and exports of chrome was specifically vital for the German war. However, in my opinion, I think that this was indeed a very strategic move, as it moves the country to have an enhanced international standing, helps them develop better in international relationships, which opens new economic opportunities. It's a good gamble.
Watching for invasions, Turkey was accurately aware of the threats posed by both the Axis and the Soviet forces, seeing as during this time period Turkey had chosen to remain neutral. However, the choice of remaining neutral created a lot of risk and a higher percentage rate of getting or being targeted by other neighboring countries. Maintaining a strong intelligence network was crucial for Turkey for anticipating and preventing possible and potential invasions that may have occurred. İsmet İnönü was very superstitious, and even though was allies with the Axis power, couldn't help but feel unsafe for him and his country, which was why Turkey had decided to use multiple intelligence resources and methods to gather as much information as they could. By closely monitoring for possible and potential invasions, Turkey took the opportunity to use the information gathered to mobilize their military and take steps to fortify their borders, just in case they had received pieces of information that signaled that they were about to get invaded, as by doing this it helped them maintain their neutrality and also avoid being drawn into wider conflict. Now I'll be talking about the pros and cons of this situation. The pros of this is that Turkey was being very careful and very cautious, and even though having been on such good terms with both the Axis and Allied powers, had still decided to be extra careful and to gather information from people outside, choosing not to get involved with the conflict but always keeping a close perimeter and eyes on the situation. And the cons of this is that if Turkey was not as careful enough with gathering the information, then if the Axis or the Allied powers had found out that Turkey was secretly gathering information about them, Turkey would be in a very difficult place. Securing borders, İsmet İnönü prioritized the defense of Turkey's borders, particularly against, like mentioned earlier, the Soviet expansion. Turkey was scared that after the happening and after the events of World War II, that the Soviet Union would invade Turkey, which is why they had to be extra careful in defending their borders and preventing any such risks or possibilities to allow such thing to happen.
I could draw ties in this bitch.
During World War II, İnönü emphasized the emphasis of national unity. During the war, Turkey also operated a one-party system. It was educated and emphasized onto the civilians of the Turkish identity, propaganda of patriotism, and instill of duty, which promotes an idea that the country's safety is landed upon all Turkish citizens. Through this emphasis of national unity, it helps soften the tensions between the political fractions and the civilians who had opposing opinions, and overall united the citizens, providing crucial social order and stability during this time of unsureness, which in a way, in Turkey's perspective of World War II, was of great help.
Understanding that the World War was eventually going to come to an end, İnönü began to consider Turkey's position in the post-war world, including potential alliances and economic recovery strategies. He had started to think about what he could have done now during the war that would pose benefits and make life easier for Turkey in the long run.
Tamam, şimdi ben sana söyleyeceğim aslında. Şimdi biz söyledim, böyle bakacağım, hani sonra böyle sana söyleyeceğim, sen anlıyor musun? Sonra biz böyle yaptık, sonra orada gitti, sonra yarın